Hello, this is Agurk. Welcome to Stranded Deep, episode 14, a tutorial on how to survive and even thrive in Stranded Deep. Now, this is going to be the last episode in this series. We've covered pretty much everything we need to cover up to this point, and what I'm going to do in this episode is talk about the future of Stranded Deep. Talk about some of the things that the developers have planned, or at least some of the things that I could find that I think they're planning, because it's all kind of conjecture at this point. And on top of that, I wanted to talk about a few things that I would like to see changed or improved in the game. And then I also have a couple of additions that I think would be really cool if they added to the game. So once we're done all of that, I'm probably going to start a new series next week on editing custom islands. How to create custom islands, how to edit them, how to upload them, download them, all that kind of stuff. So that could be fun. So yeah, for today's episode, let's get right into it right now. One of the things that I've seen that the developers are most definitely working on is difficulty levels. When you start a new game, and I can't actually do this while I'm in game, but just trust me, when you start a new game, on your start screen, you have a few things that you can select, and one of them is the difficulty level. Now, currently it's grayed out, you can't choose anything, but just the fact that it's there proves that they're trying to work on some sort of option to give players for choosing a difficulty level. How exactly they implement that is anyone's guess. Whether it just means you get spawned in during a summer month if it's going to be on difficult level, or whether they change, for example, how quickly your player gets hungry or thirsty, how quickly he loses health, etc. Or whether they come up with some other mechanic to make the game easier or more difficult. Who knows? But it's good that they've got that in mind, because currently there is only the one level. Now, way back in episode 2, I did actually explain a technique that you could use to make the game easier on yourself. And basically it just has to do with what month you spawn into the game. And if it's a difficult month, you just exit and restart the game and then hope that you come in during a easier month, a winter month, where you don't have to worry about UV and whatnot. So yeah, but it's good that the developers are thinking about that at least. Also in that same startup menu, there is also an option to choose a male or female character, which again is grayed out. You can't actually choose at this point, but again, that's something that they are at least thinking about. So that should be interesting. I have no idea whether being a female character will bring other challenges to the game, or whether it's just a skin and it makes zero difference to your gameplay. So that should be interesting to see what they do with that. Now, they have talked about adding additional creatures, fish or animals, to the game. And the ones that I've heard of are rats, lizards, squid, I think, maybe octopus, that would be kind of cool, sea turtles, and I'm sure there's probably a few others that they've thought of that are not mentioned or that I have forgotten. Okay, so that's about the only improvements that I know of in the game coming up. But I'm sure there will be others that we are unaware of. It is only a two-man team that's working on this game, so it does take time to get all of these things implemented and done. It's slow going, but I think they're doing a great job. It's a terrific game. I absolutely love it. Having played this game hundreds of hours, I do have some suggestions of my own, or things that I kind of wonder about, like, why is this way? Why doesn't this happen? So here's a few of the things that I thought could be improved on. One of the main things that kind of annoys me or makes me wonder, like, why did they do it this way? And that is any of the cooking items, like the hobo stove, the fuel still, or the smoker, or any fire really, those will work through the night while you're sleeping. So if you put some raw meat on the fire, any of the cooking facilities, During the night, while you're sleeping, they will cook. You wake up in the morning, the fire has used up its fuel, and whatever it was cooking is done, whether that's fuel, whether that's fish, or whatever. Whereas the water still, which is like one of the most important things in this game, it doesn't produce anything at night. Why? Why? I'm sleeping. That doesn't mean it shouldn't produce water. So why they've done it that way, I have no clue. But come on, guys. Fix it so that the water still produces water while your character is sleeping. Please. So it should work at night. Fix it. All right, so that was my rant. Okay, that's the only thing I really had that was kind of a must-do, in my opinion. Other things that I would like to see them do, that's another story. For example, shipping containers. Why do they make it so difficult to use these containers? It takes a lot of durability to hammer one of these panels off, and that's fine, that makes enough sense. But they're really kind of difficult to get off here. Like I can't even pull these two panels off that I've already removed them or loosened them with my axe, but I can't get them off. And I'm not sure if I can even do the roof. Let's try this. I don't think the ceiling is an actual piece that you can hammer. It doesn't look like it. Now these guys here, I just can't get them to come off of here. I want to, but they just won't go anywhere. So the only thing I could do would be to take the hammer and then try and craft something using the container wall. And then I can place it wherever I can find a foundation that I can attach it to. Which I don't even think I can do anything here, but no. But that's the only thing you can do. I'm going to try and take this down and take it back to my other island on my raft, just to see how it goes. I've tried this in previous versions of the game, and sometimes it works and sometimes it just is really difficult. So what I would like to see them do is to make these things somehow a little easier to deal with. It's loose. Timber! Alright, so if we drag this over to our raft, can't see anything. Now you can't put these in your inventory, so the only option you have is to take them and put them on your raft. So if I put that on the raft, and it's covering my anchor, so that's not so good. If I retrieve the anchor, I'm just going to put that right about there. And I'm going to see if I can back out of here. Nope. Alright, so let's pick up the raft and push it out into the water. Wow. Come on, go! It's not going anywhere. Alright, so it's so heavy that it's basically making the raft harder to deal with. Alright, so now we've got it in the water. It's floating. It's making my raft sink a little bit. But that worked okay. Come on, up on the boat. There you go. You can do it. Good boy. Alright, so let's see if we can get this back to our island. Alright, seems to be... I hit something. That was not good. Come here. Get back. Oh, Jesus. So you can see that these things are very heavy. They're making my raft go all wonky. And if you do the slightest thing wrong... Oh, God. That's just way too... That's too far to the front. Come on. Settle more in the middle here. But if I do this, it's making my raft, like, sink. Oh gosh, which one is my island? Alright, so we're going to try and get this to our island, but it's really dicey. It makes the raft very heavy and sluggish, and I'm just afraid it's going to slide off at some point if we hit a big wave. But we'll try. Oh, Jesus. This is scary. I'd like to see some way that this is a little more efficient or not quite so harrowing to do this. Because they're great to have these container panels. They make a really terrific item to use in your building. But if you don't have one on the island where you want to build, you have to go and collect these pieces, and you can literally only take one piece at a time. So you may have to go back 5 or 6 times in order to get enough pieces to build a full building out of containers. It's just not particularly practical. Oh my God. This is truly frightening here. Sailing around with this on my raft. Oh God, I gotta go around the point here. Turn. Oh God. Come on, turn, buddy. This raft is extremely sluggish with this thing on here. I can't turn with beans, so let's go. All right, so I got it here. It took a little bit of effort, but I got it here. Yeah, so I would really like to see that was a little bit easier to do in the game, because that's traumatic right there. And I really wouldn't want to have to do that 5 or 6 times in order to go get all the pieces and the doors and whatnot. All right. What do I got on me here? Let's grab that and that. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about was why in this game can't you use 2 hands? I mean, come on. Any normal person can use 2 hands. You don't have to switch them with your right hand all the time. You can use your left hand, you know. Like, why can't you hold the flashlight in your left hand and chop with your right hand, or vice versa? It's just stupid. You really should be able to use 2 hands, but you can't. I mean, look at the gymnastics I got to go through in order to chop these stupid fibrous leaves at night. It's ridiculous. Even if you have a lantern, you can drop it on the ground, which gives you a bit of light, but it's still pointless that you have to drop the darn thing and then pick it up again when you are ready to move on. Because as soon as you pick it up, then you've got to switch hands again. So they need to fix that. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to talk about was the multiplayer in this game. Now, currently there is a multiplayer version, as you probably know. It's a split-screen multiplayer co-op that you can only play if you have someone sitting next to you, basically playing on the same computer as you. The screen is split in 2, and you get basically half the screen space for each player, and you can run around and try and survive together. Now that has its limitations, obviously, because not everyone has someone they want to play with, and because you only get half of a screen to look at, your view is basically half of what you see here. So I don't know. It's not an ideal solution, but it's what they have at the moment. And of course, everyone is hoping that they will come up with a true multiplayer with, where people can play on two different computers and still interact with each other and whatnot. And that will be great if they do that. Now, in preparation for multiplayer, they have actually done something to the raft that I haven't mentioned yet. And I think I'll demonstrate that now. I can pull the raft out into the water here. So if you climb up onto the raft, now if you have the paddle in your hand like normal, it doesn't matter where in the raft you point. You're going to be placed into the driver's position, or at the front of the raft to the left of your storage area. However, if you put the paddle down and you try to interact with the raft by holding down your E button, you'll be placed at the back of the raft, just sitting there nice and casually with no head. And yeah, you'll just be a passenger. You can't do anything. You can look around. You can look full 360 degrees, which is quite nice. But you can't do anything. And as soon as you pick up the paddle, you actually can't while you're sitting here. I'm trying to pick this up and it can't. So you have to stand up, pick up the paddle, and then sit down where you're going to paddle. Now, of course, as I mentioned in the first episode, there is a front and a back of this raft. So the front at the moment is pointing into shore, so you can't really go anywhere. So to rotate the raft around, you would have to grab it, turn it around, and make sure that the front is actually pointing out to sea, and then operate the raft and paddle. But once we're out here, we can again put the paddle down, and then we can just sit and take a leisurely float around on our raft, enjoy the sun. And yeah, I love that he has no head. That's so much fun. All right, so let's just take this back to shore. All right, so I had an idea for how to improve this game, or how to make it even more realistic than it currently is. So this is a survival game, right? In this game, our character has to eat, drink, sleep. If he gets bitten by a shark, he bleeds. He can drown. If he falls out of a tree, he gets injured. If he gets poisoned, he gets sick. If he eats or drinks too many coconuts, he gets diarrhea and gets sick, and so on. So it's quite realistic in that regard. However, there's one thing missing, and this is something that I don't think I've ever seen it in a game. And I could be wrong. I don't play every game. So if you guys know of any games that do have this, let me know in the comments, because I'd really like to know. So my idea was, why does our character never seem to have to get rid of his bodily wastes? That seems pretty unhealthy. The guy's going to get really bloated and sick, and he's just going to burst one day or something. So I would suggest that they actually include that the character has to defecate or, poop. So if you think about it, we've been on this island for like 40 days or something. So if he's been pooing every day, and you'd think that, well, you don't want to just randomly squat all over the island. You want to be kind of more like a cat. You have a designated spot where you go. Plus, it's probably not going to smell too good either. So why not build into the game some sort of a system where there's an outhouse, for example, and if he has to go to the toilet, he would say something like, "I'm feeling bloated," or "I've got to go." Something like that, just to give you an indication that he has to use the toilet. You could then make something like an outhouse, like using the plank structure I built here. This would be a good example. We could have a new piece called a outhouse floor or something. It could be a foundation with a hole in it with maybe a container underneath that collects the waste. Your player would have to come in, squat over the hole, and do his business. And when he was done, he would get off and go his merry way. And then he could say something like, Ah, that's a load off. Or, ah, what I wouldn't give for a roll of toilet paper, or something like that. And then, yeah, over time, you can collect the waste from the container and turn it into fertilizer, put it on your farming plots, and make them more efficient. Win win for everybody. I don't know. I think it's a brilliant idea. It should be in the game. And hey, if it was in the game, I think more people would buy the game. That's just my opinion. I'm sticking with it. Let me know in the comments if you think that's a good idea or if I'm just totally out to lunch. Now, with a label maker, you can actually name crabs, which I showed in a previous episode. But what if you could tame some sort of animal, like maybe a boar or, I don't know, maybe a seagull? He could fly around and follow you. That would be kind of fun. It would be so cool if they put something into the game, something like, say, sea turtles. They crawl up onto a beach and lay their eggs once a year. And if they did that in the game, that would be so cool. Imagine if you could see that, but only during a specific month of the year that these turtles would do that. And if you were lucky enough to spawn in prior to that month, then you might get a chance to see sea turtles doing that. Whereas if you come in at the wrong time of the year, you wouldn't see it. But maybe you could see small baby turtles hatching 6 months later or however long their gestation period is. That would be really cool. I like that idea. All right, so one thing that I would really like to see in this game is a survival map in-game, one that your player can access. Now, there's several ways they could do it. They could either make it as a standard thing that if you, for example, hit the M key on your keyboard, it would pop up a map so that you could see where you were. Another way they could do it, they could make it craftable so that you had to craft a map out of leather or rawhide or cloth. Third option would be to make the map an actual item that you could find in crates. I don't know. I think I like the idea of crafting a survival map. So this is what I've pictured. Now this is just a quick Stranded Deep survival map, Photoshop mock-up that I've done. This is just my vision of what I thought it would look like. So I would have your starter island showing up in the center there, and I would have a compass faintly in the background. It doesn't have to be right in the center, it could be in the corner or wherever, but I've just placed it right in the center, right underneath your main start island. And it indicates the different directions, and I think that's quite important simply because of the weird way they've done the map in this game, with north pointing to the top right corner of the world we're playing in. That is north in the game, but to most people, when you look at a map, that would be northeast. So again, having a compass showing the actual in-game directions is quite important. Maybe as well as your start island, you would also have faintly showing the islands that you can see off on the horizon. But maybe in the west corner, because you can't actually see an island, maybe it's rendered as a blank, or maybe it renders with a little skull and crossbones. And then, for example, let's say we've explored a few islands now, and how do those render? So those would come in more clearly on the map. And of course, any island that you can see off in the distance from those would also render faintly into the map. And what else? It would likely be important that your home island or your current island is indicated on the map as well. So we could do that in a slightly different color. And then as you explore the world, all of the other islands would begin to show up as well. It would be good that they had some way of indicating more information about an island. And I know this is not practical for an actual leather or cloth map. You can't have a pop-up on a cloth or leather map, but just for gameplay sakes, that it comes up with some sort of option that you could edit the island name or description. That would be awesome. Something like this, where it pops up, this is Redemption Island, a custom island with a metal building, our main base. So you could go in and perhaps edit that to rename it or change the text, how you identify the island yourself.
an island that I've looted of trees, or lots of wrecks, or whatever description you want to write. It's up to you.
So that's what I have pictured as an option for how I'd like to see an in-game map done. If you have any comments about what you would like to see on an in-game map, let me know in the comments below. I mean, it's a kind of an interesting subject, and I'd like to hear what other people think. Do you have any other ideas of what could be done, or how the map could be brought into the game, or how the player could use the map, or how the map could be updated? Let me know below. I'd love to hear it. One cool thing that I'd like to see in this game would be that they create a special wreck somewhere in the world that you're playing in. It would only spawn in one location on the map, and you wouldn't know where. So you would have to basically, during the course of your game, you'd be searching different islands, diving on wrecks and whatnot. And on one island, just some random island, you would happen upon this wreck, which would be special in some way. And the one thing that I have thought of would be Amelia Earhart's crashed airplane. Now, if you don't know who Amelia Earhart is, she was an American pilot. 1937, she tried to fly around the world, which at that time was a huge, huge deal. This was with a little propeller airplane. She tried to fly around the world. She got from the USA down to South America, over to Africa, across Asia, to Australia. But she ended up basically disappearing at sea somewhere between New Guinea and some island in the South Pacific. I think it was Howell or Howden Island or something like that. And they never found her. And it was actually just in the news a couple of days ago that they found a wreck off of New Guinea somewhere where they think that it might be her airplane. So that would be like a 70 or 80-year-old mystery that'd be kind of cool if you could solve that in the game. Or alternately, maybe you could find a crashed World War II Japanese fighter plane, like a Japanese Zero or something, or an American bomber or something like that from World War II, either on an island in the jungle somewhere or underwater as an underwater wreck. Either one of those options would be quite cool to see that in the game as well. Okay, I'm just swimming around out off the island here, and I noticed some weird rock formations on the bottom here, and then they're kind of glitched out into the ocean. Now, I didn't do this. This is an island that I have built myself, but I didn't put these rocks here, so I don't know what's going on. You can kind of see where the island tile ends down on the bottom of the ocean there. It's just a straight line where the sand kind of just ends. It should just be a abyss with nothing here, but there's actually a whole bunch of rocks. Now, we're quite a ways out, and it's very deep, but these rocks are all just kind of hovering here in the middle of nowhere. That's very strange. And I've never seen this before. So this may be a glitch in the experimental version here. I haven't seen any mention of this anywhere, but it's interesting. It looks like they almost lead all the way over to the next island, but I don't know. I don't really want to swim all the way over to the other island. I don't see any sharks, luckily. So hopefully there are no sharks that will spawn and surprise me that way. See, I'm like way farther away from my island than I like to swim. Yeah, like I'm almost halfway over to the next island, and those rocks are just still going. So, yeah, I'm not going to go any further. I'm just going to swim back. But that was weird. All right, so the last thing I want to do here is I'm going to hop on the raft. I'm going to take a bunch of rations and water and food, and I'm going to take the boat out to the end of the world, just to show you what it looks like. I meant to do that in the last episode, but I ended up seeing a whale on my way there, and I never actually got there before dark. So I'm going to try that again now and show you what the end of the world looks like. And you can see there's a line of yellow buoys or buoys on the horizon, depending on how you pronounce the word in your location. Now, these are not physical objects. You can't interact with them in any way. They're just markers to indicate the end of the world. So if I try to swim over to one and pick it up, I can't. I just swim right through it. As you can see, it's just deep ocean here. There's cod and not much else. You could run into a shark or a whale or a marlin. And if you sail beyond the buoys, you certainly can. There's just nothing there. Just wide open, empty ocean. So you can just basically keep on sailing in that direction pretty much forever. And you'll see nothing but ocean, whales, marlin, sharks maybe, and cod. So the buoys go all the way around the entire square world that we're in. And yeah, so that was it. That was the end of the world. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's about all I have for this entire series. We have covered absolutely everything that I can think of. So that's it. That's all she wrote. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's followed all the way through to the end of episode 14. I really hope that you've enjoyed the series. I hope I've been able to teach you something and entertain you a bit along the way. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for my next series about custom islands. I hope I'll see you again next time. Bye for now. This is Agurk, signing out.